Who do you believe will stand by your side when your world turns upside down? What about family? Companions? Following a harrowing car accident that brought me to the brink of death, I uncovered a harsh reality to my family. I was merely a living source of financial support. With a single decision, I shattered their entire fabricated world. Stay tuned until the very end, for what unfolds next is more astonishing than any television drama you could ever imagine. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below, for this narrative could very well serve as the awakening someone else has been waiting for. Next, I will reveal the precise moment I pressed that block button, and how it liberated me from a lifetime of being taken advantage of. Following the car accident that brought me to Bellevue Hospital, my family group chat erupted with a flurry of photos from my sister's weekend at Midtown Spa and Wellness. No one appeared. Days later, still clad in my Bellevue Hospital gown, I unlocked my phone to find 64 missed calls and a message from my dad waiting for me. Please return our call at your earliest convenience. It carries weight. I certainly did. And then came the moment. It's peculiar how one can sense the gradual escape of life from their grasp amidst an enveloping stillness. Silence enveloped the scene, interrupted only by the shattering of glass and the sudden impact of the airbag colliding with my face. In one fleeting moment, my thoughts danced between the allure of rotisserie chicken and the convenience of drive-through tacos for dinner. In the blink of an eye, I found myself inverted in my car, suspended by the seatbelt like a marionette, gazing through a fractured windshield at a stop sign that had taken me by surprise. A figure appeared at the threshold, inquiring if my ears could catch their words. I inclined my head in agreement. Crimson liquid trickled into my eye from a wound by my temple, and I recall the metallic tang lingering at the back of my throat. Everything that followed fades into obscurity. Echoes of sirens, analgesics, the scent of iodine lingered in the air. It all merged into a continuous, muted blur of existence. Upon fully awakening, I found myself in a room at Bellevue Hospital, permeated by the scent of disinfectant and stale air. Nurse Kelly informed me that I was dealing with a dislocated shoulder, 2 fractured ribs, and a mild concussion. Gentle, that was the term they employed. I found myself unable to sit up independently. Yet here I was, labeling it as mild. It was said that fortune smiled upon me. Luck seemed to elude me. A sense of being overlooked washed over me. Once I was moved from the ER to a standard room, I found myself anxiously anticipating the moment my phone would illuminate. There must have been someone who knew. News spreads quickly among family members, doesn't it? I thought perhaps Dad received a call. Perhaps Jessica received word from another. I had expected, at the very least, that my mother would reach out to see how I was doing. I acknowledge my mistake. My phone lingered on the small tray table at Bellevue Hospital for 2 long days. Not a whisper, not a sound. It wasn't until the late hours of the second night that I finally laid my hands on it. Upon finally prying it open, I was greeted by a staggering 27 unread messages. Neither from friends nor from colleagues, but rather from the family group chat. In a fleeting, surreal instant, I was convinced they were aware, that they truly cared. The initial photograph struck with the force of a blow. Jessica, adorned in a pristine white robe, cradles a champagne glass in one hand while playfully flashing the peace sign with the other. The caption read, "Midtown Spa and Wellness Time baby." Soon after, another followed. She finds herself enveloped in the warmth of the sauna. Then another, exquisite sushi. Her nails were adorned with paint, her feet adorned with rose petals. She smiled beneath a verdant clay mask. With each passing moment, their ignorance deepens, surpassing that of the previous. Mother offered her thoughts on almost every single one. Utterly adorable. You are worthy of it. My dear, I hold you close to my heart. My father dispatched a handful of thumbs up emojis. Not one message inquiring about my whereabouts. There was not a single reference to the car. The incident. I found myself fixated on the screen, unable to look away. For a fleeting moment, I truly believed I was unraveling. I mentioned the crash to them, didn't I? No, I had not. Unconscious, I was brought in, a mere shadow of myself. Nurse Kelly inquired whether I wished to inform anyone, and I declined. Deep down, I found myself curious to see if they would reach out on their own accord. They did not. 3 complete days elapsed. The sole visitors were Nurse Kelly and a Dr. Miller. who appeared to be merely 12 years of age. He persistently urged me to inhale deeply, cautioning that it would prevent my ribs from becoming rigid. I followed his instructions, yet each inhalation was akin to a crowbar being forced beneath my ribs. I reclined in that uncomfortable Bellevue hospital gown, marked by bruises and solitude, reflecting on all the moments I had offered my assistance to them. The midnight calls from Jessica, pleading for financial help, the credit card bills belonging to my mother, which I had discreetly settled. Last Christmas, I took care of Dad's car repair when he mentioned that money was tight. Each favor, every single one. This time, I acted without a moment's pause. I was the one you could always count on. The one who mends what is broken. What comes next? Silence prevails. On the fourth day, I received my discharge, accompanied by the advice to refrain from driving or working for a minimum of 1 week. For nearly an hour, I lingered in the lobby, the anticipation of a rideshare hanging in the air. As no one had come forward to offer me a lift, I refrained from inquiring. As I made my way home, I found myself still clad in the Bellevue hospital gown, tucked beneath the comfort of my hoodie, a reminder of my limitations as I struggled to lift my arm high enough to change into a proper shirt. That day slipped away in a haze of slumber. The following morning, I at last activated the ringer on my phone once more. 64 missed calls. All of them arrived within the past 48 hours. The majority originated from Dad, a handful from Jessica, a gift from Mother. No voicemails awaited me, only a solitary text perched at the top of my screen. Father, please return our call at your earliest convenience. It carries weight. I reached out without delay. Before the first ring could echo, he had already answered. His voice carried a strained quality. Panic simmered beneath the surface. Yet he remained silent. Not at this moment. His next words seemed to defy understanding at first glance. There exists a certain chaos surrounding the issue of misplaced documents. An account has been frozen. I refrained from interrupting. I allowed him to speak. As I lay there in my Brooklyn apartment, still clad in the gown they'd sent me home in, a realization washed over me. For the first time in years, their dependence on me surpassed my own reliance on them. I had reached the end of my patience with foolishness. As I finally dialed my dad's number, I remained ensconced in the very chair where I had crumpled upon returning from Bellevue Hospital. I had yet to slip out of the Bellevue Hospital gown. I draped a hoodie over it. Yet the rough fabric pressed against my ribs continued to invoke a persistent ache. The phone remained silent, not a single ring to break the stillness. He answered right away, as if he had been cradling it in his palm, walking in restless circles. His voice lacked any trace of anger. It resonated with a sense of unease. Such an occurrence was uncommon for him. He mentioned that they had been attempting to contact me for the past 2 days. I chose not to reply to that. He began to elucidate, or perhaps merely to meander through his thoughts. There was a troubling situation unfolding. Jessica's rent payment had failed to process. Her card was declined at a charming bistro on the Upper East Side, and she found herself unable to access her Chase bank account. Initially, I entertained the notion that perhaps she had fallen victim to a hack. Yet then he uttered those words. Her secondary card had also been frozen. The one that bears my name. He persevered. Mom attempted to send money for the bills, but it didn't go through. As we navigated the checkout process, her credit card, serving as a secondary on one of my accounts, suddenly ceased to function. She believed it to be a mere glitch until Chase Bank raised the flag. Unsettling behavior. Then her phone bill's autopay faltered. It was at that moment that the panic began to unfold. It was believed that I had fallen victim to a hacker's intrusion. Perhaps there was an issue with Chase Bank. They failed to entertain the notion that I might have been responsible. My father inquired, his tone laced with a hint of apprehension, whether I was aware of the unfolding situation. I remained silent at first. I allowed the silence to unfold in its own way. Then I spoke with a serene composure, declaring that I had frozen everything. The secondary cards have been canceled. Disable the backup account that Jessica utilized. Outgoing transfers have been blocked. Everything. He appeared truly astonished, as if I had hurled a brick through their living room window. He inquired as to the reason. I conveyed my thoughts to him. I informed him that I had been involved in a car accident. Just 4 days prior, the car was flipped over. Fractured ribs. A shoulder that has been dislocated. Concussion. I recounted to him how I had spent 3 nights in Bellevue Hospital, and how I emerged alone. For not a soul in my family was aware of my absence. And then I revealed to him what truly drove me to my breaking point. Images of the Midtown Spa and Wellness. The group chat buzzed with excitement, sparkling like a Christmas tree adorned with champagne, sushi, hot stones, and foot baths, while I found myself tethered to and for. I confided in him that I witnessed everything unfold. Not a single one of them, neither Mom, nor Jessica, nor even him, had taken the time to reach out, to inquire about my whereabouts or to wonder why I had remained silent. A parade was unnecessary for me. All I longed for was a touch of compassion. He made an effort to regain his footing. He remarked that they were unaware. Had they been aware, undoubtedly they would have made their way here. I inquired of him why they seemed unconcerned about my sudden silence. Why did no one think to reach out? I stated it outright. Their indifference rendered them oblivious. Not quite. In that moment, he transitioned into a state of defense. He mentioned that Jessica had been facing numerous challenges recently. The mother carried her own burdens of anxiety. The Midtown Spa and Wellness weekend was intended to assist Jessica in managing her anxiety. He even suggested that perhaps I ought to have made the effort to reach out. That was the moment. I informed him that I was finished being the one who consistently made the effort to connect. I had reached my limit in serving as the family's safety net. I had covered Jessica's rent on 4 occasions over the span of 2 years. Assisted my mother in streamlining her financial obligations. I settled a medical bill for my father. Yet he never expressed his gratitude. And now, in my moment of need, not for money, not for assistance, but for the simplest form of human decency, they failed to even acknowledge my absence. He inquired whether I truly intended to forsake my family for this. I firmly expressed my refusal to him. I have already done so. Silently. As I reclined in that Bellevue hospital bed. As I perused the images of Midtown Spa and Wellness. As the thought crossed my mind, I pondered the possibility of my demise going unnoticed until the moment the credit card was declined at brunch. With that, I ended the call. As the night enveloped the world outside, I found myself opening my laptop. I accessed each account to which I had a link. The ones they had overlooked. The ones I had a hand in establishing. The provisional assistance. Accounts that remained unreturned to their rightful owners. I created a spreadsheet. I meticulously examined each line. Telecommunication expenses, subscriptions for streaming services, lease, plastic money, educational debts, even the Equinox gym that Jessica frequents. Everything continued to course through my accounts. I brought everything to a halt. The credit cards have been frozen. Auto payments have been canceled. Passwords have been altered. I have submitted requests to have my name removed from shared leases and accounts. I felt no anger. My approach was systematic. I desired each door to be firmly closed. Every pipeline to be completely shut off. I chose not to share that information with them. I simply bided my time. The initial message arrived the following morning. Jessica, in all caps, inquiring about the reason her card failed to function. Then, yet another. Then came a call. A message from Mom arrived, informing me that her account had been frozen and requesting that I contact Chase Bank on her behalf. Similar to the previous occasion, my father sent a message inquiring whether I was upset and if we could have another conversation. I chose not to engage with any of it. This was not an act of vengeance. Reality had finally caught up to them. I had no intention of halting it. As the week drew to a close, they found themselves caught in a whirlwind of chaos. On a single day, Jessica reached out to me 7 times. She dispatched voice messages, lengthy and increasingly theatrical with each passing moment. The initial one was perplexed. The second felt a surge of irritation. By the third, tears streamed down her face. Whether it was genuine or a mere illusion, the distinction had blurred beyond recognition. She recounted the moment with a sense of embarrassment, recalling how she felt utterly humiliated at her beloved Soho coffeehouse when her card was declined in front of an audience of onlookers. Then she found herself unable to access her Uber account. She found herself unable to meet her rent obligations. Mr. Peterson issued a warning about late fees, while the Midtown Spa and Wellness imposed a cancellation fee that was beyond her financial means. I absorbed each message in silence, choosing not to reply. Next, a message from Mom arrived. She mentioned that she couldn't quite grasp why her Chase bank was behaving oddly. She then inquired whether I could assist in untangling the situation. There shall be no apology. Silence surrounds the incident. Negative. How do you fare today? Addressing the issue directly, as if I were her customer service representative. I chose not to respond. On the following day, she dispatched 3 additional messages, her tone gradually transforming from gentle to incisive. Father was the sole voice attempting to convey reason. Once more, he reached out to me on a Saturday morning, leaving behind a voicemail. He claimed to comprehend my distress, yet insisted that halting everything was a significant overreaction. Jessica had a tendency to be a touch careless on occasion. Mom never intended to overlook me. He expressed that it was unjust for me to sever ties with them so abruptly. Without any prior notice, it was at that moment that a revelation struck me. They failed to recognize it as my act of reclaiming what rightfully belonged to me. It was perceived as an act of betrayal, and that revealed all I required to understand. At long last, Jessica made her entrance into my Brooklyn apartment. She emitted 3 sharp buzzes. I chose not to respond. She sent a message from the lobby, expressing her desire to have a conversation. I chose to overlook it. 10 minutes later, I caught a glimpse of her car as it slipped away beyond the blinds. There was no further communication following that. She sought connection, not an end. She yearned for her life to thaw, not for the revelation of truth. On the ensuing Monday, a call came through from Chase Bank. It seems that Jessica attempted to authorize a transaction with my old joint card information, the very one I had previously deactivated. They raised a flag and inquired whether I wished to report it as an instance of attempted fraud. I did not. I instructed them to maintain the freeze and to keep a vigilant eye on any additional access attempts. Silence enveloped the days that followed, stretching out like a still canvas. Excessively silent. Then arrived the group message. Mother, might we engage in a mature conversation to resolve this matter? There was no reference to their actions. No recognition of Bellevue Hospital. There is no acknowledgement of the extent to which they relied on me. Merely a courteous yet subtly manipulative entreaty, adorned with a delicate bow. I chose not to respond. 2 hours later, my father reached out once more. This time, I took the initiative. He refrained from raising his voice. He moved with caution, as if treading upon a fragile surface of ice. He mentioned that they were all navigating a difficult time, that Jessica was feeling the weight of pressure, and that Mom was simply preoccupied. He remarked that I had always been the pillar of strength in our family. Indeed, they are. Required my presence. Once more. That term once more. Required. I allowed him to speak uninterrupted for a complete 5 minutes. It seems he believed I was becoming more pliable. At that moment, I posed a single question to him. When was the last time any of you did something for me? A moment of silence lingered in the air. A lengthy peace. Then you remarked, that's not the way families operate. Precisely. In that instant, I realized this was not merely a fleeting phase. This was everlasting. For far too long, they had mistaken my silence as a nod of agreement. My kindness was mistaken for duty. They believed that blood signified possession. Not any longer. I kept my voice steady. I made no threats. I simply conveyed to him that the support has come to an end. I will manage my own expenses and navigate my own existence. They are capable of achieving the same. He attempted to voice his objections, yet I severed the connection before his words could fully escape him. It was not anger. It was a moment of pure clarity. Even then, I could sense the onset of the collapse. 3 days after I severed all ties, Jessica's phone service was also disconnected. Initially, I was unaware. The absence of sound on her Instagram caught me off guard. It lacks the essence of a narrative. That girl would share a post every time she sneezed. I explored out of sheer curiosity. Her page remained, yet all traces had been erased. Empty feed, absent avatar. Then, an hour later, it had vanished entirely. Removed. That moment marked my initial realization that her seemingly flawless midtown spa and wellness existence was beginning to fracture. Mom, in her usual fashion, was engaging in the art of pretense. She resumed her messages in the group chat as if the previous events had never occurred. A delightful piece on autumn suits. Who among us recalls this melody? She shared a selfie, the warm glow of a pumpkin candle flickering in the background. Caption: getting cozy. Silence enveloped the space. as no one responded, not even father. It was then that a letter arrived at my Brooklyn apartment. Not a text. This is not an email. A genuine letter, penned in my mother's meticulous cursive script. The envelope possessed a certain heft. She possessed an undeniable talent for the theatrical. Within the confines of the envelope lay a 3-page handwritten note, detailing the rising tensions and expressing a heartfelt desire for us to reclaim the essence of family once more. She expressed her pride in me. I had always been the one to shoulder responsibility. The adhesive. She and Jessica were navigating a complex situation and required assistance. A provisional loan, only until Jessica's circumstances are resolved. The accident went unmentioned. There is no need for an apology. Merely a proposal. She had even included the necessary documentation. A snapshot of Jessica's Chase bank account reveals a troubling sight, a negative balance. Overdrawn by $418.72. A tangible credit card statement revealing nearly $3 spent on high-end purchases. Car payments, and a Midtown Spa and Wellness membership that seems to have slipped her mind for cancellation. There lay, at the very bottom of the stack, a contract. I swear to God, they crafted a loan agreement, written in accordance with the terms of interest, a schedule for payments, locations for Jessica and me to affix our signatures, a Midtown Spa and Wellness for the signature of a witness, a means by which individuals safeguard themselves in legal proceedings, shielding against the unknown. They sent it to me, the one who quietly covered her rent 6 times. I lingered over that letter for what felt like an eternity. It transcended mere insult. It was unsettling, as if they had entirely severed their ties with reality. I chose not to reply. That very night, a knock echoed through my door. Distinct and deliberate, not a mere buzz. A genuine knock. The clock struck 9:30 p.m., a time when the world outside had settled into a hushed stillness. And the sound of a knock at my door felt like an intrusion into the quiet of the night. I peered through the peephole. It was none other than Ryan, the former partner of Jessica. It had been 2 years since I last laid eyes on him. Following their breakup, I opened the door, and he appeared uncomfortable, as if he already regretted his presence in that moment. He mentioned that Jessica had provided him with my address. She informed him that I was facing a challenge and that she required his assistance. She described a scene in which I had lost my sanity, severed ties with everyone unexpectedly, and left her feeling abandoned. I inquired directly, was she residing with him? He inclined his head in a slow, deliberate motion, a gesture steeped in contemplation. She claimed to have inquired, yet he was far from foolish. Then he uttered a remark that took me by surprise. She is now in the company of your mother, upon the couch, and they are spreading the word that you experienced a breakdown. I remained silent. He continued to speak without pause. Initially, he expressed skepticism about her claims. However, upon hearing her narrative, that I had erupted following a minor family quarrel and severed ties due to an inability to cope with pressure, he chose to approach me directly. I conveyed my thoughts to him. All things. The collision, the Bellevue Hospital, the stillness, the path of currency, the cessation of operations. He paid attention. Silence. There is no defense. There are no justifications for her actions. As he departed, I believed that would mark the conclusion of our story. However, the following morning, he sent me a screenshot via text, a post on Instagram from my mother. An ambiguous update, yet incisive. We kindly ask that you hold our family in your thoughts and prayers. In moments of anguish, some individuals may respond with sharp words or actions. We are striving to maintain our strength during this challenging period. A multitude of remarks, conveying affection. I trust all is well with you. Your strength as a mother is truly remarkable. It was then that the reality truly settled within me. They were not merely evading the truth. They were in the throes of a vigorous rewrite. A new narrative was being crafted. A time marked by my own instability. Heartfelt, the antagonist, with access to my wallet now denied. They turned their sights on my reputation. I remained calm. I prepared myself. I retrieved my phone, navigated to the folder I had meticulously crafted following the accident, and continued to add to its contents. Captures of the group chat from my time at Bellevue Hospital. Unanswered calls. The missive. The document pertaining to the loan. The charges at Midtown Spa and Wellness. Even the post on Instagram. Subsequently, I dispatched them all, not for Jessica, Not to mother. To father. No message. Without any context provided. Only the facts. Several hours passed before he made the call. I chose not to respond. Then he sent a message. I was unaware. It has come into focus for me. I apologize. He offered no defense for them. In that instant, clarity dawned upon me. The tower of cards was teetering on the brink of disaster. I have just delivered that final surge of effort. Following the message from Dad, silence enveloped the air. There will be no further inquiries. There was no phone call. No emotional manipulation. Silence prevails. Only those 6 words. I was unaware. It has become clear to me at this moment. I apologize. I chose not to reply. I longed to think it held significance. Perhaps, at long last, someone in that family recognized the weight of what I had been carrying all these years. Yet, I had no intention of falling for the lure. I had witnessed an abundance of insincere apologies. Countless feeble promises that inevitably culminated in the same disheartening outcome. Then requiring something once more. What unfolded next was beyond my expectations. 2 days later, an email arrived from Mr. Peterson. Jessica's contact. A notice it was. It seems that my email remained on her list of emergency contacts. The message was direct and unembellished. The specter of unpaid rent looms large. Communication has dwindled to silence. And an eviction notice hangs in the balance. She had neglected to make the most recent payment. And the late fees were accumulating. They had made attempts to reach out by phone. Silence prevails. They granted her an additional 5 days before proceeding with the filing. I gazed at the screen, my mind drifting to the countless occasions I had sent money to that very office. Silently, with an effortless precision, half the time, she didn't even express her gratitude. There was a time when she reached out to me, having completed her T-checks. Yet she fell silent for weeks on end. At this moment, she found herself devoid of any remaining options. As the night unfolded, Ryan reached out to me once more through a text. He had ventured over to his mother's, a matter of retrieving some belongings that Jessica still possessed. She remarked that she appeared unkempt. Her eyes were puffy, and she paced restlessly, as if sleep had eluded her. She made an effort to encourage him to reach out to me once more. She expressed her disbelief that I would ever do this to her. He refrained from biting. Then he revealed something I had not anticipated. Mom and Jessica found themselves embroiled in a heated exchange, their voices rising in a cacophony of emotions. Jessica directed her frustration towards her, accusing her of failing to mend the situation, to which Mom retorted sharply, asserting that she was not a bottomless well of resources. Ryan mentioned that things escalated to a point where the neighbors felt compelled to call the police. The following morning, Jessica borrowed her mother's car without asking for permission, abandoned her in solitude. That marked the initial fracture in the facade, as Jessica betrayed the sole individual who had remained steadfast in her defense. In that moment of clarity, a realization dawned upon me. They were not merely in a state of panic due to the absence of funds. They found themselves in a state of panic, for their entire structure, their very dynamic, relied on my silent endurance of the burden. As I took a step back, I realized it transcended mere bills. The essence of it revolved around identity. Without my financial support for the facade, they possessed nothing substantial beneath the surface. I believed that would be the breaking point. Yet, I found myself mistaken. 3 days later, the final straw arrived. Upon returning home, I discovered an envelope wedged beneath my door. A mere folded sheet of paper lies within, devoid of stamp or name. I unsealed it. A solitary sheet, a captured moment, rendered in print, a confirmation of a transfer from Chase Bank, originating from one of Jessica's old Venmo accounts that had slipped my mind. An attempt was made to transfer $900 from one of my backup Chase Bank accounts, a dormant account that I hadn't accessed in over a year. She endeavored to execute it with subtlety. Unbeknownst to her, I had taken the precaution of locking that account days prior. The transfer was unsuccessful, yet, she persevered. She embarked on a quest. She recalled that account and made one final attempt to strike it. That was the moment. There is no longer a space for compromise. Hope for repair has faded away. The following morning, I made my way to the police station. I have not pursued full charges at this moment, but I have taken the precaution of filing a fraud alert and ensuring that the attempt is properly documented. Merely as a precaution, her name, her IP address, her device, each one marked by Chase Bank. Should she attempt once more, it would unfold with an inevitability all its own. I chose not to reveal it to her. I kept it to myself. I allowed it to linger, patiently awaiting its moment, akin to a tripwire. In a decisive moment, I severed all ties with them. Device for communication, correspondence, social media platforms, a conversation among friends in a digital space. I took the precaution of securing accounts they were unaware of, just to ensure my safety. I closed off every entrance. The aftermath continued to unravel, each thread pulling away with a life of its own. Jessica found herself without her Brooklyn apartment. Mother's utilities were disconnected due to unpaid bills. Their social circle began to dwindle, likely weary of the ongoing drama. Father? He remained silent. It seems he has at last grasped the price of remaining mute. I refrained from gloating. I refrained from smiling. I just lived, silently, serenely. After years of relentless notifications, silence enveloped the midnight hour. There are no unexpected notifications from Chase Bank. Free from remorse, only silence. It was labeled as selfish. I named it freedom. 2 months have passed since I severed ties with them. Silence on the line. No texts available. There are no letters. Only silence. The kind I once yearned for amidst the turmoil that surrounded me. Jessica offered no words of remorse. Not intended for the fraudulent endeavor. Not for the deceit. Not to overlook the Bellevue Hospital. The most recent update I received indicated that she was staying with a Sarah in a quaint little apartment somewhere in downtown Brooklyn. Not far from Manhattan. She misplaced the car. She parted ways with the Brooklyn apartment. Many of the friends she once shared about have faded away. It appears that playing the role of the entertaining one has its limits. Especially when the finances can no longer support the facade. Mother continues to maintain her facade. I am aware, for my Emily shared with me screenshots of a group post in which she referenced me once more. A somewhat ambiguous remark regarding broken families and the journey of learning to forgive. What is there to forgive? To be the singular voice that dared to utter a refusal? What she never understood was that it transcended the mere notion of money. It revolved around the notion of remaining unseen. I existed as their answer, their refuge, their silent benefactor, yet never as an individual. Never a soul they believed could shatter. And I shattered, silently, in a bed at Bellevue Hospital. Amidst the silence, 27 untouched photos from Midtown Spa and Wellness await their moment in the spotlight. In regard to Father, he remained quiet. Absolutely. That was the most astonishing revelation for me. I imagined he would attempt to reconstruct something, if only to soothe his own spirit. Yet, I believe he has finally grasped the significance of my silence following his last message. It was not a threat. It served as a final declaration. Last week, I made the transition to a new place. A fresh apartment in Brooklyn. Introducing the new Chase Bank. A fresh digit. Departed without leaving a trace. I didn't even confide in Emily, who made an effort to remain neutral. Not out of fear, but rather because this time, I'm guarding my peace with unwavering resolve. The former Michael would have left the door slightly ajar. For precautionary measures, the latest version falls short. I continue to hold onto the screenshots, the correspondence, the voicemail in which Jessica wept. How could you betray me in this way? The endeavor to transfer funds via Venmo. Not out of a desire for vengeance. Yet, it is my desire to hold onto the memories. For what often goes unspoken, severing ties with your family can, at times, feel far from a noble act. It resonates with the weight of sorrow, as if grieving for a dream that never truly took shape as you envisioned. Yet with each passing day, that sorrow becomes a touch more subdued. Each day, my phone remains quiet, and that quietude increasingly resembles a sense of security. They devoted years to the belief that I would forever remain by their side. Even if they set the bridge ablaze, I would rise to construct another. Yet, they ultimately discovered the consequences that unfold when the architect of connection departs. Carrying away each supporting beam, I discovered something as well. That family does not bear the name you share. It's the ones who stand by you when your world shatters, not when their own crumbles. No one, not even those bound by blood, holds an everlasting claim to your kindness if they regard it merely as a currency to be exchanged. This was not an act of vengeance. It was a matter of survival. For the very first time in my existence, I am truly embracing life.